Before diving into the incredible stories of the smaller teams, it's important to remember that the biggest football nations are still performing exactly as expected. Argentina, France, Germany, and Spain continue to win matches, score goals, and prove why they entered the tournament as favorites. Their success is no surprise because fans around the world have come to expect these football giants to dominate the biggest stage. But despite their impressive performances, they are not the main reason people are talking about this World Cup. The real excitement has come from the teams that almost nobody believed in before the tournament began. Instead of the traditional powerhouses stealing the spotlight, it is the underdogs, the smaller football nations, and the unexpected challengers that have captured the world's attention. These teams have completely changed the story of the competition, showing that heart, determination, and teamwork can be just as powerful as history and reputation. That is something FIFA probably never expected when it decided to expand the World Cup from 32 teams to 48. The official reason for adding more teams was simple. More countries would mean more matches, more fans, and, naturally, more money through television rights, sponsorships, and ticket sales. Many people quietly believed that the extra teams would simply fill the schedule before being knocked out by the stronger nations. The expectation was that the smaller countries would collect a few heavy defeats, entertain the crowd for a short time, and then make room for football's biggest stars to battle for the trophy. The famous teams were expected to reach the later rounds, where the largest television audiences and the biggest financial rewards are usually found. However, this tournament has completely destroyed that prediction. Instead of acting as easy opponents, the smaller nations have refused to back down. Nearly every match day has produced a surprise result, with favorites struggling against teams they were expected to beat comfortably. Several football giants have been pushed to their limits, while countries making their World Cup debut or returning after decades away have written unforgettable chapters in football history. Rather than weakening the competition, the expanded tournament has made it far more exciting. It has given talented but overlooked teams the chance to prove themselves on the biggest stage, and many of them have taken full advantage of that opportunity. Critics once claimed that adding more nations would create one-sided games with predictable outcomes, but the exact opposite has happened. The competition has become more competitive, more emotional, and far less predictable than many experts imagined. Among all these remarkable stories, one nation has stood above the rest as the tournament's biggest surprise: the Democratic Republic of Congo. Their journey is not just about football. It is about resilience, patience, and never giving up after decades of disappointment. The last time Congo appeared at a World Cup was back in 1974, when the country was still known as Zaire. They became the first nation from sub-Saharan Africa to qualify for the tournament, but their dream quickly turned into a painful experience. They lost every group match and conceded 14 goals without scoring once. That difficult campaign remained a painful memory for generations of supporters. After that, the country disappeared from football's biggest stage for more than 50 years. There were no World Cup appearances, no unforgettable victories, and no chance to show the world how much football meant to the nation. Many fans believed they might never see their country compete again. Everything changed in 2026. Congo returned to the World Cup and immediately surprised everyone by earning a 1-1 draw against Portugal, led by Cristiano Ronaldo. Simply avoiding defeat against one of Europe's strongest teams felt like a historic achievement. Their next match ended in a narrow 1-0 loss to Colombia, leaving them in a dangerous position before the final group game against Uzbekistan. The situation was simple: win the match, and they would qualify for the knockout stage for the first time in their history. Lose or draw, and the dream would end once again. Even before kickoff, another emotional story surrounded the team. Congo's most famous supporter, Lumumba Veya, who is well known for standing completely still during matches while everyone around him celebrates wildly, was unable to attend because his visa to enter the United States was not approved. On the biggest night in his country's football history, he was forced to watch from home instead of cheering inside the stadium. Sadly, his case was not unique. Throughout the tournament, many supporters with valid tickets faced visa problems, while others were stopped from entering despite making travel plans. Even some officials experienced similar issues. For a World Cup that promised to unite fans across 3 host nations, many passionate supporters found themselves separated from the very event they had waited years to witness. That empty place in the stadium, where Congo's most recognizable fans should have been standing, became a powerful reminder that football is not only about the players on the pitch but also about the millions of people whose dreams travel with them. What happened next was something no Congo fan will ever forget. At first, it looked like their dream was slipping away. Every minute that passed made the pressure even greater, and the players knew that one mistake could end their World Cup journey. It felt like everything was falling apart right in front of them. The nightmare was becoming real, and millions of supporters watching around the world feared another heartbreaking ending. But football has a way of creating unforgettable moments when people least expect them. Just when hope seemed to be fading, Congo found a lifeline. They were awarded a penalty, and all eyes turned to Yoane Wissa. With the weight of an entire nation on his shoulders, he stayed calm, focused, and confidently placed the ball into the back of the net. That goal completely changed the mood of the match. The players suddenly believed they could make history, while their fans found new hope. As the clock moved closer to full time, Congo continued pushing forward with courage and determination. Then came the moment that changed everything. Wissa found space once again and finished brilliantly, giving his team a famous 3-1 victory. The final whistle sparked scenes of pure joy. Players dropped to the ground in tears, hugged one another, and celebrated a result that nobody thought was possible just a few years earlier. This was not only Congo's first World Cup victory but also the first time they had ever reached the knockout stage. It was a historic achievement that ended decades of disappointment and rewarded generations of loyal supporters who had waited patiently for a moment like this. After the match, Wissa summed up the emotions perfectly. He said the team had come from nothing to reach this stage and that every player should feel proud of what they had accomplished. His words reflected the incredible journey of a country that had spent more than 50 years away from football's biggest tournament. Instead of being satisfied with simply qualifying, Congo had shown they could compete with anyone. Their reward for this unforgettable success was a huge clash against England, one of the strongest teams in world football. Rather than feeling nervous, Wissa welcomed the challenge. He said his team deserved to face England because they had earned that opportunity through hard work. He added that while England's 3 lions would be waiting, Congo's leopards were ready to fight. The most impressive part of this World Cup is that Congo is not the only underdog creating headlines. Across the tournament, smaller nations have continued proving they belong on football's biggest stage. One of the best examples is Cape Verde, a tiny island nation with a population of only around 500,000 people. Very few expected them to survive the group stage, yet they surprised everyone by drawing against Spain and Uruguay before reaching the knockout rounds in their very first World Cup appearance. Even more incredible, they advanced without winning a single match, becoming the smallest country by population ever to qualify for the next round. African football has enjoyed one of its greatest World Cup campaigns in history. Out of 10 African teams, only Tunisia failed to reach the knockout stage. Morocco, Senegal, Ghana, Egypt, Ivory Coast, South Africa, Cape Verde, Algeria, and DR Congo all showed that they were much stronger than many experts predicted. These teams refused to become easy victories for the traditional football powers. South Africa defeated South Korea in a winner-takes-all match, Ghana held England to a draw, and Ecuador shocked Germany with a result that few people expected. Match after match, famous football nations found themselves struggling against opponents they had underestimated. Another inspiring story belongs to co-host Canada. Before this tournament, Canada had never scored a single goal at a World Cup. Their previous appearances ended in disappointment, making many fans wonder if they would ever experience success on this stage. Everything changed in 2026. They scored their first World Cup goal in a draw, then followed it with a stunning 6-0 victory to earn their first World Cup win and qualify for the knockout stage for the first time. In just 1 week, Canada rewrote its football history and gave home supporters memories they will never forget. Mexico also impressed throughout the group stage. While many people focused on the underdogs, Mexico quietly won all 3 matches and finished with a perfect 9 points. They reminded everyone that the host nations were not simply there to entertain the crowd, but to compete for the trophy. Looking at the tournament as a whole, it is clear that FIFA expected the biggest football nations to dominate while the smaller countries quietly disappeared. Instead, the opposite has happened. The underdogs have become the stars of the competition, and every knockout match now carries the possibility of another giant being eliminated. Congo will challenge England, while Cape Verde prepares to face Lionel Messi's Argentina. Every surprise victory changes the entire tournament and creates new heroes. That is what makes the World Cup so special. It is not only about famous teams lifting trophies. It is about countries like Congo, whose players have turned decades of heartbreak into unforgettable joy. As Wissa proudly said, his nation never stopped believing or fighting. FIFA may have planned a tournament built around football's biggest names, but what fans have received is something far more exciting: a World Cup where every country has the chance to dream.